A little girl, no more than 7 years old, stood by the edge of a quiet suburban road. Her small hands clutched a piece of cardboard that read in shaky black letters, "For sale." Beside her rested a small pink bicycle with a white seat and a torn basket hanging loosely on the front. She looked too young to be selling anything, too fragile to be facing the world alone, but her expression carried the kind of determination that only comes from desperation. Cars passed without stopping. She shifted her weight from one foot to another, her shoes dusty, her dress clean but worn from too many washes. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and moments that remind us what humanity truly means, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Because sometimes, a single act of compassion can change a life forever. The soft rumble of engines broke the silence. From the far end of the street came 4 motorcycles, their deep roar echoing through the calm afternoon. The little girl looked up nervously, clutching her cardboard tighter. The bikers slowed as they approached, their heavy boots and leather vests giving them a rough, intimidating presence. They weren't the kind of men you expected to stop for a child, but something about the sight made the leader pull over. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with short dark hair, a trimmed beard, and a leather vest patched with Hell's Angels. His name was Jack. He took off his helmet, the engine idling beside him, and stared at the girl. "What are you selling, sweetheart?" he asked gently, crouching down so his eyes met hers. She swallowed hard. "My bike, sir." Jack tilted his head, confused. "That's a nice bike. Why sell it?" Her eyes drifted toward a woman sitting weakly under a tree nearby. "That's my mommy," she whispered. "She hasn't eaten in 2 days." Jack's tough expression faded. The other bikers looked at each other, silent now. The loud engines felt wrong against the quiet heartbreak in her small voice. He nodded slowly. "How much you want for it?" She shrugged, looking down. "Anything, sir, just enough for food." Jack took a deep breath and reached into his pocket. He pulled out a thick roll of bills, counted a few, and placed them gently in her trembling hand. "Tell you what," he said softly, "I'll buy the bike, but you keep it. You might need it for better days." The little girl blinked in disbelief, eyes filling with tears. "But, sir." He shook his head. "No buts. That bike's yours." She looked at the money, then back at her mother, who now tried to stand but nearly stumbled. Jack turned and walked over to the woman, kneeling beside her. She looked exhausted, her hair unkempt, her face pale from hunger. "Ma'am," he said quietly, handing her a small paper bag from his saddlebag, "here. It's not much, but it's food." She hesitated. "Why would you help us? You don't even know who we are." Jack smiled faintly. "I don't have to know you need a break. My mom used to say, when you see someone drowning, you don't ask how they got there, you just help them out." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. God bless you." Jack nodded and stood up, glancing back at his crew. "Tex, Mike, go grab more food from that store down the road. Get milk, bread, whatever they got fresh." The 2 bikers nodded and rode off immediately. The remaining 2 stood guard, watching quietly as Jack crouched again beside the girl. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily." "Well, Lily," Jack said softly, "you just made me remember something important today." "What's that?" she asked innocently. "That being tough doesn't mean forgetting to be kind." Minutes later, Tex and Mike returned with paper bags full of groceries. They handed them to the mother, who could barely find the words to thank them. She opened one and pulled out a sandwich, handing it to Lily before taking one herself. The girl ate quickly, eyes wide with joy. Jack watched quietly, memories flashing in his mind, his own mother, years ago, trying to stretch a loaf of bread to feed them both. He'd sworn back then that if he ever made it out of that life, he'd never ignore someone hungry again. When the mother finished eating, Jack asked softly, "What happened to you? You got any family around?" She shook her head. "No. My husband died in an accident last year. The insurance company said the claim was invalid because of paperwork. I lost my job a few months later. The landlord threw us out. Everything's gone." Jack's jaw tightened. "That landlord got a name?" "Mr. Dempsey," she said bitterly. "He even sold the few things I left behind." Tex grunted. "That's cold." Jack nodded slowly, his eyes narrowing. "Lady, you mind giving us his address?" The woman's eyes widened in fear. "Please, don't do anything violent. I don't want trouble." Jack gave her a reassuring look. "I don't do violence unless I have to. But I do believe in fairness." She hesitated, then gave him the address quietly. Jack stood and turned to his crew. "Let's go make something right." Before he left, he looked back at Lily. "Stay here with your mom, okay? We'll be back." She nodded shyly, clutching her pink bicycle like it was her only treasure. The roar of engines filled the air again as the bikers took off. Dust lifted from the road, sunlight glinting off their chrome bikes as they rode toward the wealthier side of town. Jack pulled up in front of a clean white house with a shiny silver car in the driveway. He parked, took off his helmet, and marched to the door. Tex and Mike followed close behind. Jack knocked hard, once. The door opened. A well-fed man in his 50s, expensive watch gleaming, frowned at them. "Yes? What is this? Mr. Dempsey?" Jack asked. "Yes. Who's asking?" Jack's voice dropped. "The guy who knows you threw a widow and her little girl onto the street." Dempsey's confidence faltered. I don't know what you're talking about." Jack stepped closer. "You do. You took everything from her. Even sold the kids' toys. You proud of that?" The man stammered, "She owed me rent. I was within my rights." "Rights?" Jack's tone hardened. "You had the right to steal from someone who had nothing? You had the right to starve a child?" Tex stepped forward, crossing his arms. "I think we're gonna need a refund. With interest." Dempsey's face went pale. "You can't threaten me." Jack leaned closer, calm but deadly serious. "This isn't a threat, sir. It's an opportunity to do the right thing before the world learns what kind of man you are. I can make a few calls, to your neighbors, your church, your job. You'll be famous before sunset." The man froze. After a tense pause, he stepped back into the house and returned with his checkbook. His hands shook as he wrote the amount. "Here. That's all she's owed." Jack took the check, looked him in the eye, and said quietly, "You sleep better tonight knowing you fixed a piece of what you broke." Then he turned and walked away. When they returned to the park, Lily was sitting on the curb, drawing circles in the dust with a stick. Her mother sat beside her, head bowed in silent thought. They both looked up as the engines approached. Jack stepped off his bike and handed the folded check to the mother. "What's this?" she asked. "Your landlord's guilt money," he said softly. "He owed you a fresh start." She looked down at the amount and gasped. This is more than we lost." Jack smiled faintly. "Then use it to build something better." Lily ran forward and hugged his leg. "Thank you, sir. Thank you for saving my mommy." Jack crouched and smiled at her. "You saved her first, Lily. You stood out here for her. Don't ever lose that courage." She nodded, tears in her eyes. The other bikers placed a few more grocery bags beside them. "We'll swing by in a week," Tex said. "Make sure you're both doing okay." The mother covered her mouth with her hand, overwhelmed. "You don't have to." Jack interrupted softly. "We know. But we want